In this video, I'm going to explain you MCPs in the easiest manner using Smartlead, and I'm going to apply that to Smartlead and show you how the automation works, right? So very simple. Let me first explain you what an MCP is, and I'll just use the simple Google definition here, which means MCP is an open standard that enables AI models to connect and use external data sources and tools, which simply means if I have a tool, if I have an operation that I do, and if AI can do that behalf of me, that is pretty much what we're going to achieve. And I'm going to build the entire workflow from scratch in n8n so that you kind of understand how it's built and also get a practice of maybe, learning n8n, something like that. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so the goal of what we are trying to do right now in this video is that I would just tell an AI model to create a campaign in Smartlead, just prompt it, and it should do that automatically. That's the goal. Once you understand how that's done, you can pretty much build anything else that's possible, right? So first, let me show you what are we thinking? What's the skeleton of this? So if I open Smartlead, if I search Smartlead API docs, you'll get this second link. If you just open this, okay, you have the Smartlead API docs, right? So which means there are a lot of post requests. So if I have the API key, there are a lot of post requests. If I do create campaign, update campaign, and so many of these, right? I can basically use the API key, use this endpoint, right? Use this body and perform that. So if I have, say, Postman, I can perform that. I can use those API keys and structures to actually create a campaign. What we're trying to do here is we're going to give this information to AI, ChatGPT, and we're going to tell ChatGPT slash the AI agent slash the MCP server, and we're going to ask it to do it for us. That's the goal, right? So it starts from the fundamental point where we first create an MCP server. The way you have a webhook which receives some information, right, through the hook, in the same way we create an MCP server. The server will receive the information about what to do. So first, let's create that MCP server. So I'll open n8n over here and make sure that it's like the latest version that you can have, because I think MCP is in the recent versions. It's not in all the old versions. So first, I'll just click on create workflow. I'll add first step and search for MCP server trigger, right? This one. I'll just choose MCP server trigger. Now we need to keep this URL in mind. I'll let you know how that's useful later. So once I have this, now I have to add tools to it, right? And right now we're going to add just create campaign tool to this. So I'll just click on tools and I'll just say HTTP request tool. So there are a lot of options over here, right? We'll use HTTP request because we want this MCP server to perform a HTTP request behalf of us. That's the reason we're doing this. So I'll open HTTP request. So let's come over here, right? So this is the post request. This is the endpoint. So I'm going to copy the endpoint. So post request, I'm going to copy the endpoint. And then in authentication, let me just ignore this. We need to just add the API key, right? So I'll just say send headers and using fields. Now what I'll basically do is, so, okay, query parameters API key, right? So I'll just copy this. Instead of header, I'll say send query parameters, API key. And now I'll have to put the value. I'm going to pause the video and put the value over here, right? Okay, so this is where once you come to Smartlead, this is where you find the API key. So you'll just copy this. I'm obviously not showing the entire API key. I don't want anyone to abuse it, right? And I'm going to simply paste over here. Okay, so now I have the API key, right? Which means it's pretty much going to do everything. Now what we have to do is, then we have now we need to also send the information about campaign, right? So we want to basically over here, if you see data, right? We want to send the name of the campaign, right? And leave null if no client. So we'll just send name. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to send body, right? Which is going to be just JSON, and I'll say name, right? And value, I'll say let the AI define it, because I'm going to tell the name in the prompt, let the AI define it, right? So that's what we're going to do over here. And that's it. We have the MCP server ready for this basic process. Now what I'm going to do is, now let's come to the second one. Let me just save it, whatever I've done. Now we are going to create an AI agent and we're going to execute it. So I'll come to create workflow and I'll say AI agent. I'll just click on AI agent. So we have pretty much everything that's needed, right? So let me so first is chat model. I'm going to choose OpenAI for this because I have the API key, right? I already have the OpenAI account. You need to connect your account, obviously. In memory, I'm just going to keep simple memory. This is very simple, right? It's just that uh, whatever chat that you're doing, it just stores it for the moment. So there's no big deal in this. Most of the time you have to just choose simple memory. Now here comes the actual thing. Now this is the tool which this AI agent is going to execute. And in this tool, we will say MCP client tool. We're going to choose this. Now we have to choose this endpoint, right? So I'm going to come here. I'm going to click on this and I'm going to take the test URL. When you're actually running it, you have to have the production URL. I hope you understand that. So I just keep the test URL over here and that's it. We have pretty much everything ready. So what I'll do right now is, let me just make this active. I have the URL, just a second. I have the test URL here, as you can see. Now, let's see, right? I have this Smartlead open. Let me just open Smartlead as well so that I can show it to you. So I have Smartlead open over here and I'll click on execute workflow. So now it's waiting for us to create an event. So it's waiting for something to happen the way it happens in webhook, right? And the reason we're using test is because over here, we are testing the event. That's the reason we have test URL over there. That's very important to understand. So we have these campaigns. Now we have the MCP client. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply start from here. I'll say, create a campaign named Ankit's test campaign. Right. And as you can see, you don't have that over here. It's just the list. So I'll just click enter. And you can see the steps that it's doing, right? You can see the steps that it's doing. So it says it has been successfully created. So let me just refresh this. As you can see, this is created. Now we can observe a few things. I don't like the way this is framed, like why there is this JSON, I don't know, right? So we can try to troubleshoot that. Not really a part of this video, but we can try to troubleshoot why did that really happen, right? So, okay, let's just do that. This is not a part of the video, but let me just do that. It's going to be interesting. So I asked it to create this name, right? Okay. So it's a very simple thing that I missed, which is very important. What you have to also do is when you have this request right over here, you have to write in the description over here, this endpoint creates a new campaign with the input name in the name field, because we have put the name field over here, right? We've put the name field, as you can see, and we put the name field and we wanted to understand that. So basically this is the description. If you just look at it, this explains the LLM what this tool does. So I just put this description. Now let me do it again, right? It'll be a better situation. So let's just try to do it again. I'll do the same thing. I'll just copy this same thing. Let me just run this again. Okay, I'll have to execute this again. So I'm executing this workflow. I'm going to run this again. Now let's see. So it says this is created. And now let me refresh this. You can see it's an improved name. So giving the context to the LLM over here in the tool section, giving the context is very important. That helps it understand how to behave, right? This is pretty much for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll keep posting videos over here on YouTube, LinkedIn, everywhere. So just follow me and see you in the next video.